Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Digest, reacting to the Toronto Raptors 104-96 loss to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Riker, this was an immensely important game for the Toronto Raptors team as we try to claw our way out of the play-in tournament. Currently, we are 7th in the Eastern Conference, Riker. The Cavs are 1 seed above us, and we could have got within 1 game of Cleveland with this W tonight. However, with the loss, we are 3 games back, still sort of scratching and clawing with the Hornets and the Nets and all these teams. But Riker, the Raptors have obviously dealt with some injuries. We've acquired some players on 10-day contracts. The whole team is in flux, and we'll dive into all of that in this game. But the Raptors, even with all that being said, they couldn't come out and get a consistent performance throughout this game from really anyone. I thought Siakam probably played the best out of everyone. Boucher was pretty solid, but we'll dive into the analysis. But how are you feeling about the Raptors playing right now with all the injuries, with everything that's going on? Are you frustrated? Are you cheesed? What's happening here?
And can we start this podcast, give out the golden kazoo right from the jump to the Raptors GROAT, the my self-titled Raptors GROAT, Gary Trent Jr. Because like you said, we're trying to get out of the play-in tournament. I'm sure the Raptors are thinking that. They've just let 2 bad games slip against bottom-tier teams, and we're close. We find a way to get back into this one, and a little drop-off pass to no one. Gary Trent Jr., he's just in the lane, just throwing it off to the other team, then has the audacity to get mad at Khem Birch. Horrible offense there. And I'm looking at Gary Trent Jr., like you said, as one of the best efficiency guys in clutch time and isolation basketball in the NBA, and can't even put together a high IQ play down the stretch when when the team needs him most. That frustrated me.
Yeah, it was a very frustrating game all around. Just given the importance of this one and the fact that the Cleveland Cavaliers, they came out, especially in the clutch and stuff, and just clamped in, packed the paint the entire game, right? The entire game, especially in the fourth. And Gary's really that guy, the star boy, right? The third best ISO scorer in the NBA. You called him the Raptors GOAT, Riker, GOAT, whatever you want to call it. And we just couldn't knock down those shots. And then the Jimmies, they started going down. They started to be a bit wet, a bit fluid, a bit milky down the stretch of this game. And then the Cavs just come down and hit all their shots on the other end. It was just the Raptors, they had their moments, but then they had their moments which equally, for all the highs, they immediately just pushed you off those highs into a deeper and deeper ditch. So it sucked. Gary Trent Jr. He looked better tonight overall compared to his previous performances, but still 2 of 8 from the 3-point line, even though he was 7 of 19 from the field. Not the greatest efficiency at all, but 19 points, 3 rebounds, but 2 of 8 from the 3-point line. When you're getting open ones with the Cavs packing the paint in that zone, he's got to be better.
Well, that's the perfect next thing that I want to point out too, was the Raptors, right? Ever since they started playing the Nets, and the Nets are throwing out this zone, then the Magic are throwing out the zone. Cavaliers play zone for a long stretch, and this one, the Raptors cannot score against it. It shouldn't be that difficult as an NBA team to get baskets in a zone if you have decent setup and you can pass the ball well, because there's always going to be gaps in the defense where if you have fast ball movement, there's going to be an open guy, right? So that's an issue at large. Obviously, Nick Nurse needs to work on with the team, but it's challenging when you're on the road, you're playing all these back-to-backs. But, right, if nobody's stepping up and you're not getting good ball movement, you're never going to win these games. But it was an important one that I wanted them to win. There was still positive takeaways.
Yep.
I just wanted to vent my anger at the beginning of this one before we got into the good stuff, Ben.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things we can vent upon and talk about, but let's keep it positive. Or switch it to some positivity, because we had a nice little battle tonight between 2 Rookie of the Year candidates. You want to get a little drum roll going, Riker? Get that little drum roll rocking. Because tonight, the Scotty Barnes Award, it's going to none other than Scotty Barnes himself, who, from the eye test, statistically and Mobley, just in terms of getting the win, probably performed better than Scotty Barnes. But from the eye test, the shots that Scotty was hitting, they were getting down. I don't know. I'm giving the edge. Maybe I'm biased. Certainly I'm biased.
Nah, that was a fantastic back-to-back, especially down the stretch, because Scotty Barnes had a lull for words there. Scotty Barnes was scoring down the post, and Mobley would come back and score down the post. That is exactly what you'd expect of two guys that are actually having the battle and putting some emphasis on knowing that they're kind of that 1 and 2 in the rookie ladder. So it was a lot of fun, but obviously you got to give the benefit to the team that actually comes out and wins it then.
No, I'm giving no benefits. I'm giving the Scotty Barnes Award to Scotty Barnes himself. Evan Mobley was in the running for the Scotty Barnes Award, but he's not getting it here tonight. He was not getting it here tonight. Scotty had 19 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists. That's what's giving him the edge. 3 steals. The defense was elite, but obviously Evan Mobley's a remarkable player himself. And Ryker, 8 of 14 from the field, especially with OG, Fred, Malachi, even, who's been a shot creator for us when he played those 3 games. And we're going to talk about Malachi Flynn, certainly, as this podcast goes along, right? Just about his unfortunate luck with injuries just as soon as he gets a starting opportunity. But Scotty Barnes, he had a stretch there in the fourth quarter where he said, as you said, they were going back and forth, Mobley and Barnes. Scotty has these moments throughout his rookie season where he just gets it in his head. Okay, I'm going to score on this possession. No one can guard me, right? The Cavs have some remarkable big defenders. And Scotty Barnes just says, you know what, I'm going to post up. I'm going to get these hook shots going. I'm going to get these floaters rocking. I'm going to do these between the legs spins within 5 feet of the hoop with 3 defenders around me and somehow get a crazy shot off, and it goes in every single time. And Ryker, I'm just confused as to why the Raptors don't go to this more often, because there hasn't been many moments throughout this season where Scotty Barnes has, forced shots or taken these, because they're ugly looking shots at times, right? They don't look like the most, they don't look like the most efficient shots, so to speak, but whenever he takes them, they don't seem to ever miss. And I don't know if it's aesthetics or whatever, but we should go to Scotty Barnes more, because we've seen what he can do down there in the paint and create, even with the packed in defense.
Yeah, well, tonight was the night that he could have got those shots, because he started as the point guard. He played primary ball handler in this one. So onus is on him to go and get his baskets. And Gary Trent Jr., he's a shooter. He's going to put up high volume of shots. Pascal Siakam, he's been doing that, right? He can kind of break down a defense. Whether or not he scores once he gets past the primary defender, that's up in the air on any given night. But I think Scotty Barnes, we're not looking at him to post up every possession and feed him down the paint. And I thought when he was ball handling tonight's game, he wasn't always getting around guys, right? When that second help defense would step up, he would sometimes get stopped before he gets deep paint position. So he's got to get a little bit faster, a little bit tighter with his dribble. That's kind of what I saw in tonight's game. And plus that zone defense was just killing everybody, because we weren't passing the ball around. It seemed like they were trying to, dribble drive. And it's like, that's not the best way to beat a zone.
Yeah, not at all. And we do have some elite players at driving and all these sorts of things, but you got to swing it. You got to get the ball to the middle of the zone, kick it out. You always joked about getting Nick Nurse getting on the iPad and Googling how to beat a zone defense. But I guess when you don't have the shooters and you're going up against 3 7-footers, they pack the paint. It is really tough. It's a tough situation. I see a lot of criticism upon Nick Nurse and the Raptors management right now. Not like in the Chattius Young trade. He was... Talk about golden kazoos. You could throw a golden kazoo out to Thaddeus Young tonight as well. Honestly, we'll just throw these around throughout this podcast, Ryker. A bunch of golden kazoos, because there's a bunch of moments, a bunch of players in this one that could be deserving of it. But Thaddeus Young, 14 minutes in this game, 0-4 from the field. Couple of sometimes it's never good to airball a layup, but some of them you sort of get, right? If you're going too fast, it goes over. It slips out of your hands or something like that, a Shaq and a fool moment. Thaddeus Young had a couple of, one turnaround post hook that just completely just wasn't close to the net. He had another one, I don't know if it was tipped or fouled. Alvin was calling for a foul, but the replay looked like it was just a complete rush and throw it through the ball, right? I don't even know. Missed target brutally by Thad, and also had to turn around in the paint where he was gobbled up by Jared Allen down there before he went down with injury. Thad's been good for us. I'm a big Thad guy, but tonight was not his night.
No, definitely not. But this is where being undersized is an issue, because Jared Allen in his 10 minutes before injury had 2-3 blocks.
Yeah. Right.
Mobley is a defender. I think he had 3 or 4 blocks on the night. And then Markkanen's a tall body, not necessarily a primary defender, but he's obviously a guy with length that can clog up the paint. So this is perceivably or understandably a difficult matchup to score on the inside. But there was just the rest of the things that the Raptors did made that even worse because they weren't really doing anything right until, I guess, the very end. So frustrating one, Ben. I they could have won this one too. Yeah. That's the worst part.
Yeah, Bueno Kitty's in the chat saying Starboy Ryker was scrub boy tonight.
Yeah. Say that twice. Say that 3 times.
Bueno Kitty. He's the Raptors GROAT. We can't be calling him out.
You know what else? I thought we might have been playing like the 2010 Minnesota Timberwolves with the way Kevin Love was playing tonight as well. I don't know when he was prime Timberwolves, but it seemed like he couldn't miss from 3.
He's been good this season. And he always kills the Raptors. We remember him from those playoff series. But I do want to address a couple positives, and then we'll swing it back to more Golden Kazoos because they're going to be handed out in this one. But Siakam, I thought, played a solid game for what he was sort of given. You know, he's a guy that slashes. He needs the floor spaced a little bit. We know this about Pascal. It is what it is as part of his game. But still, I thought he brought the energy. When the Raptors would go down some holes, he'd at least dig us out of our graves at points in this, and we just needed someone else to help him out, be a little bit consistent. And I thought Boucher did that for a stretch, too, when the Raptors came back, you know, made their run, brought it to within 2. Siakam had 24, 4, and 4 in this game. Boucher had 21 and 7. Those 2 guys were solid out there. And I know Kem Birch had the highest plus-minus for this game, but I think that's just due to the fact that certain lineups he was out there with. But Boucher's looking like a guy that probably should be our starting center with everyone out with injury currently rather than Kem Birch, even though he did start tonight at the power forward.
Yeah, like you just got to play around with the lineups now and make something work, right? Because you can't let a bunch of games slip while you're waiting for Fred to come back into the lineup and OG to come back. I thought the Raptors would be a little bit more competitive despite having, you know, 2 of our primary guys out, but it is what it is, Ben.
Yeah.
I thought I had another gold kazoo, but I just dropped it, so continue on.
Drop the kazoo. Well, there was a point in this one. We're throwing them out like candy, like whatever you throw out to people. But Nick Nurse was getting some kazoo talk. And we'll talk about the management as well, because that's what the chat, I'm looking at the chat, I'm peeping it, I'm seeing what people are. We're not going off the rails just yet. But Ryker, Nick Nurse, the Raptors had a little run going. The third quarter, they brought it close. They had it rocking. And then Nick Nurse decided to throw out a lineup that included Delano Banton, Svi Mykhailiuk, Sviji Water, who just hasn't had ample run with this team, and it's unfortunate. Precious Achiuwa, a couple guys out there I remember. And then Delano Banton, was it the third or it might have been the second? I don't know. But when that lineup was out there on the court, we got absolutely crushed. Delano Banton needs to learn how to shoot. He needs to learn how to shoot because as soon as he comes in the game, you or I could be coaching that other team and we'd be thrown in. You could get a scrub off the street to coach another NBA team, and they'd immediately say, okay, let's run a zone against Delano Banton, because that's what every team has been doing lately when we play the Toronto Raptors. And Delano, he looked like a star at the start of the season, but now teams have sort of scouted him out, and the lack of a three-point shot, paired with the fact he's not, you know, he's certainly a strong passer, but just in those moments making those decisions, particularly in a set defense, right, that skill still needs to be refined. Those lineups are tough, especially with the Svi Mykhailiuk, who isn't guaranteed getting minutes and just can't make a shot right now. 0 of 3 from the field tonight in his 3 minutes. He's out there on the court.
Give them both the kazoo, Ben, because they both bricked a 3, and Svi Mykhailiuk 3 possessions in a row. He bricked a 3. He forced a floater up over 2 or 3 defenders, and they did something else bad that made me cringe as well. It's like, you know, you're going to get limited minutes. You know this, right? This is very small time for you to potentially play your way back into the rotation, and you just go out there like a chump and force a bunch of shots that you know is going to get you seated back on the bench. So unless you're trying to jeopardize your career, then his performance tonight left a lot to be desired. And like I said, it's tough when you're getting good shots and you're missing, because then you just want them to make those, right? But when you're forcing bad shots play after play, and it's tough.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. We did get an Armani Brooks sighting, Ryker, in the fourth quarter. Did you see anything from him?
I was excited for that, Ben. I was excited for that pickup because maybe you didn't see it. I seen an interview like a month ago with all Houston players, and they were saying who's the best 3-point shooter. And they all said, "Boom, Ronnie Brooks. Like this guy has unlimited confidence. You get him in practice, and he's hitting 53s in a row. They're like by far the best shooter we've ever seen." I check his stats for Houston in game. He's only shooting like 35% from threes, something like that. Like it's not high 30s by any stretch.
30 this season, tonight. 38 last season.
Okay, there you go. But they're all saying, like, by far and away, best shooter they've ever seen in their life. I'm like, oh, wow, this could be something. And then, obviously, he's late game situation. The didn't even really look for him. I think the one time he got the ball, it was hot potato back, straight back to Scotty Barnes.
Yeah, it's, had the Tony Snell lineup tonight, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0 shots, 0 threes. Got a foul, so at least he got on the box score. Not the Tony Snell lineup, but, guy that I'm excited to see. I'm happy he got some run, but this is another thing about Nick Nurse, right? I love the creativity. I love that he tries different things out. Don't get me wrong, right? We've been praising that forever because then playoff time comes around, you can do whatever. But I feel like you should tell Svi, Delano, Brooks, right? You're going to get 14 minutes tonight. We're just going to ride it out and see what happens, right? None of this play Utah 4 minutes in actual game stuff. We're not talking about garbage time. Obviously, you don't have to say to the players, "Oh yeah, you're gonna get 3 minutes of run here in garbage time." I'm not saying that stuff. But like, if you're gonna play someone in the second quarter, if you're gonna play someone in the third quarter, I know everyone's like, "Oh, you got to be ready, next man up. You gotta always stay mentally locked in." These guys are human, right? If they haven't played in 3 weeks and then they just get thrown out there and say, "Hey, you get 5 minutes of action," they should be prepped for it and probably given a little bit longer of a leash. That's something I'd like to see with Nick Nurse because no one's going to be good with that stretch.
You've coached, I've coached. You know as well as I do that you can't predict the outcome of a game before it happens. You have an idea of what it's going to be like before it starts, and you can do your scouting beforehand and watch tape and kind of prepare your matchups and everything. But if a lineup is hot, you're going to leave them out longer, right? If a lineup is sucking, you're probably going to pull them back in a bit. So it's pretty difficult to say for sure I'm going to give you more minutes or a set amount of minutes, but I do see what you're saying because we've been wanting the same thing. It's just some semblance of consistency for these guys because it's a very tough assignment to go out and, am I supposed to shoot 5 shots in the 2 minutes that I'm going to get, or do you want me to just pass the ball around? Like there is role confusion, right? It was the same thing with Norm Powell when we had him on the team.
Yep. No, without a doubt. And I see what you're saying, but teams run a rotation, right? That's what 90%, 95%. We grilled Dwayne Casey for sticking to his guns, sticking to his rotation, night in, night out, season in, season out. No matter what was happening, Damari Carroll, John Salmons, Chuck Hayes, they were getting their 25 to 35 minutes a night. No questions asked, good or bad. But what I'm saying is, switch it if you're switching it up, which we like. Do it game to game and say, okay, this is the rotation. We're trying it out. Svi, you're getting your opportunities. You miss your first few shots. You can feel fine about not having to hoist up a corner three. That's all the pressure's on and all that. You'll get some opportunity. But that's it. Right, we've been throwing out kazoos. We've been throwing out. Actually, I do want to bring up the Precious propaganda tonight. 21 points. Actually, I should have did this in a different order because the propaganda is coming in. The spicy P-lay of the day. Riker, Precious Achiuwa, you might be thinking, minus 28 for the game, looking at the box score. 4 of 10, not too bad. Had a tough 3, 8 points, 6 rebounds, 2 steals. Is there going to be a lot of propaganda in this game for Precious Achiuwa? But yes, there is. Yes, there is, because Precious Achiuwa came down 2 straight possessions. People always trashing. The OG handle was the meme of last season. I was hyping it up. Well, Riker, we're starting up the Precious handle because he came down full speed, almost dribbled it off his knee. Right? You're looking at him. People are cringing. They're looking like, oh my God, is Precious dribbling? What does he do? Crosses up a Cavs defender, goes baseline, shoots a floater. It's like, all right, that's nice to see. The following possession comes down in the other corner, between the legs, like Hakeem Olajuwon, Pascal Siakam-esque spin, driving the lane, making a layup. That's Precious. Even though he's a minus 28 in this game, you can't judge plus minuses too much. That was tough.
My audio cut out, so I have no idea where I'm coming from right now. So keep it rolling.
And we're going. I see you're not talking. I can't hear you. We give him the call back. I don't know what you just said because the audio is coming through. Your audio is coming through. Yeah.
No, I meant like I couldn't hear you. I took out my earphone for a second. Precious, Ben, definitely agree. Some good plays there. Fortunately, I did see that play because I checked out for the third, which is disappointing because the Raptors came back. They were really close. When I tuned back in the fourth, that's when the lead slipped. It was down 16 deficit, whatever. They crawled back in. That just goes to show, Ben, that not all plays can be the spicy Pele, and some make you say, oh, geez. And boy, or rather, oh, geez, there were a bunch of these tonight, Ben, including Kevin Love hitting 3-point daggers, right? All of the Cavaliers making all of their shots. I think, I don't know his first name, but D Wade, not D Wade, but whoever this D Wade, we're gonna call Dwayne Wade is the Dwayne Wade, but this D Wade is this D Wade. He put somebody on a poster tonight. There was a lot of awkward moments in this one that for me got the OGs.
Awkward. You gotta get the hand motion. You're getting awkward, but Ryker, as we make this pod very awkward. However, the OGs, the Golden Kazoo. We'll throw out another Golden Kazoo just for chronological purposes. The one, the only, the infamous fifth Golden Kazoo of the night. It's the basketball gods, Ryker.
Oh.
No?
I'm giving 2 to Gary Trent Jr., Ben. That's what I'm doing. Now you can give the 6th Golden Kazoo.
The 6th Golden Kazoo tonight. Chat, get your kazoos going in the chat. It's going to the basketball gods. And people might say that's it should go to Nick Nurse for his playing of Malachi Flynn, but this guy gets his opportunity. He gets his run. Fred VanVleet's out. Delano Banton's played his way to the like section, playing his way out of the lineup. Right, and then Malachi Flynn, Eric Flynn's out there salivating there on Raptors Nation saying Malachi's about to ball out. He's shooting, he's scoring, 20 points in his last outing, I believe, making some good plays, hitting threes, facilitating, playing solid defense, and then goes out indefinitely with a hamstring injury. Now, people are saying that it's on Nick Nurse for not playing the guy at all and then throwing him out there for 40 minutes in the previous outing. But I don't know what you're supposed to do. I'm not throwing the blame onto Nick Nurse because these guys are trained athletes. They should be game ready.
Professional athlete.
Yeah, maybe you should be. Maybe the Raptors should have thrown him down in the G League, kept him game ready or something. But I don't know. These guys are proper athletes. Malachi Flynn's a young guy, but that is unfortunate news when we heard that today.
Well, it's tough. I mean, same thing with DJ Wilson. Same thing like for any NBA player, right? To get your career kind of curtailed by injury sucks. And I'll tell you, I'm no stranger to hamstring injuries myself. I was just at the grocery store this evening, went to pick up some cereal on the top shelf. It was a little bit out of reach, so I had to kind of get a foot up there. And man, I like pain, and it was embarrassing. There was people around. I kind of hobbled off. So I can empathize with Malachi Flynn, Ben. Those are tough ones.
The hammies are tough. We played on that U15 team. I was out for a little while with those hammy injuries. So it's an unfortunate. It just sucks, man. It sucks the life out of you. But Ryker, I think it's time to get a little bit off the rails. See what people are saying in the chat. Let's get it going. Beep, 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 beep. That's right. The final alarm has sounded. We want to hear what you guys have to say about this game. Your opinions, your thoughts. I'm seeing a lot of tanking discussion in the chat, Ryker. And, people are saying...
And when we were on our 7-game win streak, we were playing a 7-man rotation. And that 2 of those 7 guys aren't even playing anymore. So obviously the bulk of our win share is in the guys that are injured right now.
Yeah. Tanking, silly. I see where people are coming from. Do I agree? No. Not jumping off the bandwagon. I think we just need to get back in the fold. Stay as good as we can. Stay at hopefully that 7th seed, right? Ideally avoid the Heat and the Sixers. If we can get to that 6th spot, avoid the play-in, right? That's probably where we want to be. However, right? We have a top rotation. If we're healthy, we can give a puncher's chance. Anyone get Scotty Barnes those playoff refs, it's huge. However, the Raptors did trade away in that Thaddeus Young deal. It's not looking too hot right now, given our positioning. But trade away Thaddeus Young, trade away Goran Dragic, and a first-round pick for Thaddeus Young, who didn't look good tonight, but has looked good on other nights, so we're not complaining. Even though there was some discussion in the chat about how we've just haven't looked right with Thad Young out there. I don't think it's him. I don't think we're forcing him into the lineups. But if we do fall out of the playoffs, losing the play-in, yada, 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 we get our pick back. We get the Detroit Pistons' highly coveted second-round pick, which is early 30s, so we know what Masai can do with those. I don't know if we have our current second-round pick this year, but we have 2 solid draft picks. Even considering that, any thoughts on that whatsoever, or are we just pushing for the playoffs, Riker?
No, that's our top 3 players. 2 of them are out. They would represent probably the bulk of our win share, right? Because players, I don't know how the stat is calculated, but there's percentage wins that you can ascribe to individual players, and I'd assume a lot of that is in Fred VanVleet, OG Anunoby, right? We got to play those guys and Pascal Siakam 41, 42 minutes a game, it seems, to have a chance to win any regular season or playoff game. That's just the reality of this team. And until we have all of those guys back and healthy and then are losing games against the Magic and the Cavs back-to-back and just getting slapped around, Pistons, all of these teams, that's when you'd say, okay, this team doesn't have a shot. But right when we were healthy, we were winning. We were saying this is championship form. Nobody can take us down. This defense is elite. So that's what I'm holding out on.
Man, no, couldn't agree more. We got to make that push. And you know what? If we lose, then we lose and we get our pick. Great stuff. But we're going to try. There's one thing the Raptors are going to do when they're not in Tampa. They're going to try. And that's what we want to see out of these guys. But Riker, let's see what people are saying in this chat. But Young has been weak. What are your overall thoughts on Thaddeus Young from his performance?
They're minor and hardly worth rehashing, Ben, because he hasn't done enough kind of impact-wise. We haven't played enough good teams, right? And we also haven't had a lot of close games. All of our games have been pretty lopsided one way or another.
Yeah, with the exception of that Nets game. That was pretty fun. We got a couple close ones in our losses to the scrub teams, but that's it's unfortunate. People are saying you're getting injured reaching for bread, Riker. That's soft.
For cereal.
For syrup?
For cereal. Cereal.
Oh, cereal. Cereal and syrup. What's your go-to cereal?
Shreddies or Life.
Shreddies? Paul Blunt said you gotta get the Shreddies. Okay.
I love Shreddies, man.
Big Special K guy. Special K. I've been on the Cheerios grind actually recently. Back on it, as they say. Scooby-Doo misses Kyle. Do you miss Kyle, Riker?
Oh yeah. Not in game. Well, maybe. What's the issue with Kyle? If we're losing against bad teams, his attitude is just not what you need to turn a game around. But if it's a close competitive game against a good team, then he inspires and rallies guys to play better.
Yeah, Kyle, I don't know if he's the guy we need right now. Even though he's the GROAT, he's Star Boy Gary Trent Jr. is the GROAT, but following him, it's Kyle is not a happy guy when he's losing. So maybe he'd help. Maybe it's what's happening. People are calling out the milky cereal. Cricket is good. Jared Allen out 10 minutes as well. Unfortunately, that's an unfortunate situation. He got injured. We were close to getting Jared Allen this offseason. We were close to getting
How nice would that have been, man?
Watching him play, I'm like, yo, if we had him, I think we're up there with the Heat and the Sixers. I don't think there's
his fit would have been so good. And I questioned whether his fit would be good the more we had our back and forth on could we land Jared Allen? Would we want to pay him $120 million that he's commanding? Blah, blah,
I'd
blah.
pay him $300 million at this point because
you'd give him Rudy Gobert's contract, right? Because even 10 minutes of basketball, you're like, he swat the living daylights out of one of our players. I don't know who it was, right? Threw it into the stands. And his movement, his mobility is actually pretty good for a big. So it's a shame.
Yeah.
Shame we couldn't trade Dante Exum for him.
For sure. Yeah. That's where we messed up. Not getting in that deal. Zoran Dragic, Zoran the Barbarian. Goran's burner account. Did the ginger get a haircut? Which
Goran
ginger
does have
are
a
you
brother
talking
named
about?
Zoran.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. That's the old burner. But which ginger? I did get a haircut, but you've been cutting your hair more often than I have.
Yeah, my hair has been short for a while. Well, I don't have hair anymore.
Yeah, got it. I didn't commit to complete short here, but definitely shorter than it's been. Not back to my OG days though, of the fresh side and the flip, the paintbrush cut. But Starboy is nothing when the shot doesn't fall. I don't know if I'd say that, Jack. Starboy is plain like spoiled milk, but he's a good defender. He's a hustler defender. Could get his passing game up, but I wouldn't call him nothing.
And we got a bit of a rodeo, bit of a nightmare. I know they go down, they play somebody a little bit south, and then they go all the way down to Texas, and they have 2 in LA, and then they go back to Toronto, and then they're back in the States again. 17 days, 9 games, 12,000 kilometers traveled. I know it's going to be a bit of a haul for the Raptors physically, emotionally, but they need to get some wins. Like, this is ridiculous. 1, reacting to losses because it sucks. It's not a lot of fun. Yeah. 2, watching losing performances. That also sucks. But also the fact that we are very close now to postseason. So the fact that they're letting games against inferior teams slip when they could go a long way in the competitive East to improving our standings, that's disappointing.
Yep. It's because these are games we should be getting wins on. We had that win streak where we were beating the likes of the Heat, the Hawks when they were on their hot streak. I know they're not the highest overall or whatever, but we were beating legitimate teams. And then we come out here and we get slapped by these scroobs. That's what you don't like to see. Riker, Kristaps Porzingis, stinky picky. He's being spammed. Jack, don't be spamming. I know
he played tonight.
He played tonight. 25 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. We've heard rumors left, right, and center about this guy coming to the Raptors. Initially, it was Siakam for KP, and you and I on the draft day said, heck no. No way, Jose Calderon. We are not doing that deal. Then we heard it was just Goran Dragic for Stinky Pinky, and we said, why on earth did we not do that deal? Maybe the contract's too big, but he's still a 7'3" guy that can shoot the 3, that has that potential. Risk worth taking if it's just Goran Dragic, even if he doesn't play all the games. But then we hear it could have been Dragic and Starboy, but the Raptors made it clear that they didn't want to include Gary Trent Jr. in the deal. So much stuff happening, but obviously, has your opinion changed, especially seeing Kristaps Porzingis have a nice outing in his first game with Washington, that we should have traded Dragic for him, but definitely not Gary Trent Jr.? Would you give up more for him at this point? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, tough one to speculate on because I guess, obviously, for people that don't know, they traded him for Dinwiddie and Bertans. So I guess, if you want to just use an apples-to-apples comparison, you're saying that Goran Dragic and Bertans are equal, and Gary Trent Jr. and Dinwiddie are equal in the eyes of the Mavs. Which would be kind of fair because Dinwiddie could get you 15 or 20 points off the bench, and Gary'd probably do the same. So I don't know. It's tough. Positionally, we need it, but then imagine taking another shooter off the team in this game tonight, right? We don't have enough depth at the shooting guard position to go trading away guys like Gary Trent Jr.
We're not trading Gary Trent Jr. I don't even know why you equated that. Spencer Dinwiddie would have been traded for in a salary dump if the Mavericks weren't here making this deal. There's no equalities. These are 2 guys that
I'm pretty sure they've won all the games since they've traded him.
No, he's good, but his value while he was with the Wizards was trash. Like, that's something that he was... Google
They
it.
wanted a backup point guard.
We could have given them Dragic. We could have given them something else, but not Gary Trent Jr. Not getting that rocking. But, people are frustrated that we traded away that pick. Spurs won that deal at the deadline. Yeah. Masai Ujiri, Bobby Webster essentially said that they didn't see a lot of value late first-round pick. But a mid to late first round ain't going to save this team. That's what Mastery's saying. So that makes sense. But the roster construction made no sense. People are speculating that there's probably a second deal that was going to go around that sent away Birch and Boucher. But you know what? We got our team. I'm not complaining about Masai Ujiri. I think most of the moves he's made even if we criticize them up front in the first couple weeks, in the first couple months, it usually comes back to bite our criticisms. With the exception of maybe the Damari Carroll signing, but that was just injuries ruined that guy, so that's unfortunate.
Baca, I'm never gonna live that one down.
But that wasn't a move. He didn't make a move.
That was a lack of moving, which sucked. Although it turned into Scotty Barnes.
But
so
even long term, like Serge Ibaka's been garbage for the Clippers and he's okay for the Bucks right now. I haven't followed his stats much for the Bucks, so
it turned into Scotty Barnes. So
yeah,
we would have been better with a big.
He makes people look bad when you criticize his moves. You and I.
But you know what? We were playing GM 2 off seasons ago, and we said let's get 2 bigs in free agency. Let's sign Aaron Baines, which we did, and let's sign Christian Wood, which we could have. And we did one of those 2 things, and it was a complete wrong decision. Although it also turned into Scotty Barnes, right? We could have Christian Wood right now. So,
well, you and I wanted Wood bad. We were willing to fork over the money for Christian Wood. We also wanted Harrell, who I think would have been cool for us off the bench if we had I definitely would have been a better duo than Len and Baines.
And here's the other thing too. I'm looking at all of Masai's moves recently. Wouldn't call the Lowry trade an L, but it certainly wasn't W. Because that means we basically we traded Lowry for Precious and that.
No, that's
and no, we traded Lowry and a first for Precious and that.
And we got the second back. Don't forget about that second. That second is valuable. And
we traded the Raptors Grote.
I'm focusing
Raptors Grote and the first for Precious.
We're not aggregating the deals here. You brought up just the Precious side of things, and you know what? People trash on Jared Allen's early career. Maybe not trash, but said, center, he's like average. We want to win now. You know what? Or maybe it wasn't even people. Maybe it was just those bozos and Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant saying, you know what? We need DeAndre Jordan to be the starting center for this Nets team. Let's trade Jared Allen for Dante Exum, right? That's what people think of these athletic centers before they get their games rolling. Precious is one of those athletic big men that just needs to get everything together. No hate on the Precious propaganda. He's going to make those haters look bad. Give him a couple years.
Jeez. Let me tell you this. Oh, geez. Let me tell you this, right? Masai Ujiri, we get nothing for Gasol. We get nothing for Danny Green. We get nothing for Kawhi Leonard. We get nothing for Ibaka. And then we have to trade Kyle Lowry and a first for Precious and Thaddeus Young. Whereas Dan Gilbert, I have to search this, the owner of the Cavaliers, gets to trade Dante Exum for Jared Allen. Like, there's a big W on his report card as an owner, clearly. And interestingly enough, he's also the second richest owner in sports. Net worth of $30 billion. Send some of that our way. Dan Gilbert.
Dude, the Cavaliers organization want to sponsor the Raptors Digest. Hit us up.
We could partner. If they open that expansion team in Seattle. Let's just merge into one team.
Yeah.
That stays in Canada, obviously.
Yeah, if someone gives us $1 billion, I'll react to whatever team you like. I'll react to the Celtics if you give me $1 billion. But that's maybe not. That's asking for a lot to react to the Celtics.
That's a stretch.
But
all right, let's wrap this up, Ben.
Let's wrap this up. Management is the problem. I'm not taking any of this management or Nick Nurse slander, folks. I get the frustration. I get the sadness, but it is what it is. Folks, regardless of your takes, regardless of what you're thinking about this team, we love you all. You guys are the best for making it this far. Check out the Instagram, the Twitter, the TikTok, all of that cool stuff. Riker, do you have any last words on the Raptors losing this very important game to the Cleveland Cavaliers?
He who thinks great thoughts often makes great ears, Ben. Don't think too hard. Cheers.
Knowledge.